Yeah, hi everyone, it's Billy here, back again after a little bit of a hiatus from hospital. Welcoming back the great Martin from Arcanum Vita. Always a pleasure to speak to you, Martin, and wealth of information. I love our chats off and on air. So welcome back, mate, and thank you for joining us again today.
Excellent. Thanks, Billy. Good to be back, and good to see you back. And yeah, well done. Like, it's an inspiration what you've been through, Billy. And yeah, it's just great to be sitting here again having a chat with you. And yeah, onwards and upwards. And yeah, congratulations, Billy.
Oh, thank
well
you. Yeah, a little bit of a road to follow, but yeah, I think hopefully we're over the worst of it. And thanks, mate. Definitely makes you appreciate life, and like we were just talking about on air, off air. Sorry, the gratitude for people around us, and it's really taught me a lot over the last few months. How fickle life can be, and we don't quite know what's around the corner. So to appreciate what you've got. Not get stressed or anxious about the things that we all of us worry about at different times. So
absolutely,
it's lots of life lessons there. So it's been fantastic. I feel like I said, so much gratitude for everything that's happened, really, because it just reinforces everything that I had in my mind and my heart, and then some. So yeah,
absolutely, Billy. Well, it sounds like you're at the coalface. Like, I mean, it's everything you've just said there too, Billy. Like, it really resonates with the energy of Cancer. Like, we're in the sign of Cancer at the moment. The new moon coming up is a new moon in Cancer, and like, Cancerian energy is that it's home. It's our needs being met. It's our security. It's the idea of being safe and secure, and just looking at it's at that soul level. It's that beautiful sort of nourishing energy of plenitude, in a way, like, where if we realize it and look at it, that I suppose from a soul perspective, like, we are in abundance. We are in that sort of nourishingness of it all. The Cancerian energy is, I suppose, the great mother. It's the great nurturing force of life. And I suppose from that energy there is the polarity where I suppose we can find that there's insecurity, often insecurity and emotional upset and dissatisfaction, and I guess flux and unsteadiness comes with this lunar energy of Cancer. But at the same time, strength and fortitude and nourishment and and homeliness, and just that idea of home. And it's not the bricks and mortar of home, it's that home within, and that sort of that connection to ourself and the family, as in our ancestors, but also our family, as in our soul family. The people in our life, and the connections we have, and the energy that's sort of the web that sustains us, I guess, is very much that Cancerian energy. So, like, with the sun marching through that now, I was just out before, Billy, and just had my eyes closed, and sort of letting the sun warm my head, so to speak, and you could really feel this lovely settled, warm, almost greenish coloured light coming out of the sun at the moment. That's really, I don't know, to me it was very embracing and very comforting and very relaxing, and that is there for us in this, while the sun's in Cancer. But the new moon is, I guess it's amplifying that. But, like, not to jump too far ahead, but, like, you literally, with what you just said then, Billy, just that appreciation and that realization of life and the bounties of life, and just what life is there for us to experience, is a very Cancerian understanding, I think, Billy. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
brilliant,
So no,
brilliant.
you're an inspiration, dude. Like,
Oh.
yeah, I think I don't know. I felt it come through you there. I thought, wow, that's been right at the coalface. Like, and that is the moon we're heading into. Like, it's the new moon's at 14 degrees of Cancer. It's on the 6th of July. About 8:56 in the morning from where I'm sitting here. It's an interesting new moon in that, yes, it's Cancerian energy, so it does affirm or bring in this Cancerian field for the next month. So, like, over the next month, we are probably going to be in a very home hearth, the home fires burning type disposition, with a really sort of expanded awareness around, I guess, nourishment and security, and even on a more mundane level, like it's the idea of nation, it's the idea of our ancestry, it's where we come from. Cancerian energy, I suppose they call that the psychological energy. So it's our subconscious, it's what goes on behind the scenes in the back of our mind, like it's our instincts, it's our behaviors, it's those types of things. So, it's a very immersive energy over the next month where we might feel very sensitized and very, very sort of tuned in at a deeper level and more responsive on that emotional level, because Cancer is an emotional water sign. So like it does resonate through our emotional field. So it's that sort of, I don't know, red cheeks and Scotch whiskey at the party with the pipes going. It's that energy where we're full of jubilance and life and nostalgia even, and that type of thing. So from that field, it's a good thing to sort of look at our awareness around that and go, okay, cool. How are we operating there? Like, how do we come into that area? Like, deep down, do we have, are we unsettled around things, or are we uncertain around things, or are our needs being met? Particularly, like there'll be this sort of probably acuteness around our sensitivity to needs or requirements or what we really need, versus what we might, just want. So like there's this sort of energy that comes up anytime we're in the sign of Cancer. But it kicks off there, and I guess what figures very strongly in this particular Cancerian moon, because it's at 14 degrees, so it's kind of a Taurian vibration, like it's kind of Venus figures very strongly, I think, in this energy too. So not is it just our needs and our instincts and our patterns and behaviors, but it's also how they interface with our relationships, or I guess our attachment to things, or our attachment to forms, or in many ways, shapes and forms. This moon probably is going to highlight needs versus wants for sure. Like what is it? What's of real value here? What are we aiming for? What are we striving to? What are we possessing? What's possessing us? It's that level of sort of tangible appreciation, I think, that's coming into light. Yeah. So. Yeah. But that's kicking in.
And is it true? I was reading, just doing a little bit of research myself, embracing that self-love and that tenderness with a kindness to ourselves as well, Martin.
Absolutely, Billy. Like that's the thing. The big aspect of Venus. If we look at Venus at the new moon, Venus is in a pretty exact square to Chiron. So it's about sort of empathy, compassion, feeling into through compassion and through empathy, looking at our relationships, looking at forms of our relationships, healing them or changing them or transforming them. Basically the focus is on relationships. It's looking at the nature of conflict in our lives, looking at the nature of where we might be, there might be disharmony in our life, so it's in that lens where there's the potential to not only just detect disharmony, or detect sort of imbalance in our relationships, but through a lens of understanding and through a lens of sort of inner healing or inner awareness, to sort of bring about the required changes for ourselves that restore that harmony and look at I guess bringing more peace and harmony in our lives. And that can be on a very general level, like, okay, if we're in some bad dysfunctional relationships, or if our needs aren't being met, or if there's an imbalance in the situation, we can look at, okay, we can take responsibility for why we're in that, but at the same time, kind of resolve the conflict through transcending our position, if you like, and get a higher perspective and sort of bring harmony back into our life by maybe putting new boundaries in, or making changes, or asserting our needs in some other clearer way, or just putting our values first, or those types of things. But the key, like you say, the key is a compassionate perspective to things. And I guess there is a difference between compassion and being steamrolled. Like I was talking to someone about this the other day. Like if you find yourself biting the tongue, you've already gone past compassion. Compassion isn't about taking on the problem and dealing with it. It's about actually putting yourself in a position where you can, with consciousness and clarity, see what's happening and actually appreciate it for what it is, rather than actually, having to adjust to it once it's already gone on. Compassion is an actual position of strength rather than a position of sort of subservience, or a position sort of having to put up with it. So it is that ability to sort of go, okay, I think I can recognise what's going on here, and I'll just give it a bit of calm and give it a bit of space and see what's happening.
Yeah, and you're right. I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day, and we're pretty much along the same lines, Martin. That self-love and love doesn't always have to be just going with the flow, and but you can have boundaries. But when you do respond, if someone is maybe overstepping their mark or being a little bit heavy or negative or bringing their energy into your life, you can respond to them with love, but with a strength, and to be able to push back a little bit through love, though, not through any anger or animosity or frustration. Like you say, once you've got to that stage, you've gone past that compassion point, to maintain that love for yourself and that love for even that other person, to be able to directly but kindly sort of express that to them, that maybe we don't need to keep going down this path, or maybe they need to stop what they're doing or saying, because that you're no longer wanting to engage. That doesn't have to be a fight or an argument or a debate. You can do it compassionately and with a love, I think.
That's it. And I mean, that's the thing about Venusian energy, or harmony in a way. Like oftentimes assertiveness is a passive act. Like it's an act of understanding. Like there's this temptation to make everything all right and things like that. But like the idea of Venus is, if you look at the concept of other things associated with Venus, is like self-worth or value. So like if you put your values first, like if you align with your values, then that brings you to the point of harmony. So like if you're operating in line with your values, and that then becomes your position, rather than actually selling yourself short to keep everything else harmonious. It's standing up for what keeps you balanced. So like if you've got 10 things on, and someone else wants an 11th, to throw an 11th thing into the mix, then like you're actually sacrificing your harmony if you go beyond your boundaries and do something else. Whereas if you say, well, no, here's my balance, here's my point of balance within myself, and here's my point of harmony within myself, I will just agree or disagree based on erring towards what keeps me in balance. Because if we lose our balance, then it really all we're doing is contributing to chaos. So essentially come back into what makes you harmonious and balanced, and from there operate, and let everything fall where it may, because the universe is essentially harmonious. So like if you try not to people please and try not to make everything right, and try not to sort of keep it all on equilibrium, just let the universe do it for you in a way, allow for natural equilibrium, because Venus is natural equilibrium, then essentially just align with your own natural equilibrium and let everything else find its natural balance, because the greater harmony will emerge, like the greater harmony will unfold, rather than us trying to kind of ensure that our perceived harmony takes place. But really there is a greater harmony looking to come through, and with this new moon, that greater harmony is actually very much associated with what nurtures us and what embraces us, and what's our sense of security. So, and I think that's that Chiron Venus square in this regard, is that there's some messages around our right to be ourself, Chiron in Aries. There's some message around our right to be our true self, or this need to somehow be validated in order to be okay, that actually is keeping us from being comfortable in our harmony. And so like if we can sort of let go of this external validation and just really nourish and reinforce ourselves and those around us who do also reinforce that notion, to supply ourselves or support our own sense of innate harmony, then that puts us in a position of nourishment. So it's a good thing. I think there's an opportunity here. Yeah.
And it's the irony of that is how we've been programmed to think that we have to compromise all the time, and we have to keep the peace, so to speak, like you were saying. And quite often that keep the peace situation, or that mentality, compromises who you are, but also the other person. They might not realise it at the time, but you are doing that. And if you agree to do that 11th thing that you were saying, and you don't do it well or as promised, you're compromising who you are. You're going to be stressed about it. You're not going to do a full job, whatever that entails, and then the other person's not going to be receive your full self as well. So you're better off communicating that in a compassionate, truthful, and integrous way, right from the start, to be able to, as long as you communicate that effectively, like you said, and let the universe, in its harmonious, natural way, just let things, all the balls drop, and
that's right.
It's amazing how.
Yeah, the universe is Libran. The universe is a Libran. Like it's like, oh yeah, cool. There's a natural harmony. But you're so right, Billy. And that communication, that's key. I think that's a big part of this new moon too. Like at the new moon, Mercury forms an opposition to Pluto. So like, there's this energy there where Mercury's in Leo. So like, our vibrant Leo's the vibrant self-expression, or our heart nature, or our true self. So. The communication of our true self, you could say, in summary, with Mercury and Leo, is opposing Pluto, or transformation of individuality. So, like, we've got this energy here where we can dig deep. We can go down into thought processes, or in other words, we'll be placed in situations where things might even be brought to light, through communication around ourselves or around our relationship as an individual to the world. And essentially, that there's a mechanism here where there's the ability to, come from a place of empowered communication around our individual true self. So like, to use this energy, to bring this energy into harmony, we're literally, looking at, okay, cool, who am I? What is my true self, and what's my true perspective here? And okay, what attachment do I need to release, or where do I feel disempowered in the expression of that truth, that sense of self? And so, like, there is this real good opportunity here to have these deep conversations, or kind of, express these truths, or align, even in our thought process, align with what it is that makes us tick, or what we're about, or what's unique about us, or, what's our sort of special kind of, I suppose, unique gifts, or our unique skills, or our unique talents, or whatever. But being able to articulate that from a position of empowerment. And in doing so too, it's going to require, because Pluto's involved, it's actually going to require letting go of, or releasing attachment from an old attachment or an old idea. But the kicker is, Pluto in Aquarius, like, the downside of Pluto in Aquarius is probably at its worst, as a feeling of it's all going to break down, and I'm going to be alone, or alienated, or left out, or, it's this vibration of, pendulous doom, that if I speak my truth, if I speak my heart, then I'll be left out, or I'll be abandoned, or alienated. But really, it's not that. It's actually, if you resolve it in yourself, or resolve to the fact that you have the power as an individual to speak your truth from your heart, then that's the alignment. That's the sort of resolution to that. But the question has to be then, well, why can't I say that? Why can't I align with that? What's the problem here? What's keeping me from doing that? And I suppose that's the urge of this moon, is, I suppose, it sort of brings up the insecurity, challenges the relationships, pushes the balance of dynamic harmony, and then asks the question of, oh my God, if I say this or do that, I'm going to be ostracized or whatever. But no, it really is, what are my needs? What gives me dynamic harmony and stability? And what do I need to release attachment to the idea of, so that I can actually come into my empowered expression of my true self? So that's the sort of dynamic going there, Billy. Yeah, which is exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely. And just to reflect a little bit on my last few months, Martin, and what you're saying there, I've absolutely found that out by me allowing myself to be raw, and to be vulnerable, and to be at complete who I am. There's been tears, and there's, it hasn't always been all unicorns and rose-coloured glasses. I've gone through some crap, on the surface anyway. But at all times, I've done that with a gratitude. But whenever I talk to people in my energy, or whether that was in hospital with nurses and doctors, or what I have found is by me being integrous and being truthful and raw, that's allowed everyone else around me to permission to do the same, and that the energy and the love and the compassion that has arisen from that, just from my own personal experience in the last few months, it's been mind-blowing, to be honest. I'm 54 and I thought I had stuff worked out, but this last few months has really taken that to the next level, where it's so important to be kind to yourself but hold your boundaries, and then that just allows everything else to flow. And what for me has come in personally has just been incredible. The love that I've received from others that have loved me, some people for a long period of time, has gone next level. And that's not coming from, which I've been very, very conscious of, that's not coming from sympathy or, oh, woe me, I feel sorry for you of what you're going through. That's a genuineness, because I've allowed myself to be that genuine person. And it sort of fits. I didn't realise at the time, you just go through what you're going through. It's definitely something I've had awareness about, but I love that it aligns with what you're saying with the Cancerian
absolutely,
influences.
Billy. And I mean, that's where I'd go as far as to say too, Billy. Like what you're doing, you're at the coalface, dude. Like you're at the coalface. You're in the energy. Like you're doing the do. You know, like that. Everything you're just saying, like that's so the vibe. Like I mean. And it just affirms, I suppose, the laws of nature too. That like if you resonate as frequency or vibration, or if you stand in an energy, or if you stand in a functional energy that's constellating, it is the magic that it is. Like I mean, you know, if you are deep, raw, honest, and truthful, it makes way for deep, raw, honest truth. Like it's transformative, you know, and that's the point of you know, say Mercury opposite Pluto. For all of us, there's this opportunity to basically overcome the opposition that stands between our deep, raw individuality and personal power and our heartfelt communication, or our heartfelt thoughts. And like, you know, we'll see it in duality. We'll go, okay, cool. Here's someone who's the drama queen, for argument's sake, like a Mercury and Leo might be this, you know, sort of expositional drama queen. And then the opposition to that would be a need to control their individuality, you know. So it's like, oh my God, you can't be your true expression because the powers that be need to crack down because you're creating chaos, you know. In Aquarius is chaos and unpredictability, so we need to overpower that expression and bring it back into light. But really, that's on its dualistic form, but in its integrated form, it's an individual that is empowered to create transformation through true heartfelt truth. And like that's the humanity. I guess that's the human challenge here, or the human opportunity that comes through such an aspect. But you're right, Billy, and that's so empowering, and it's so real. And like I think that's the beauty. Like without being too, I guess, over provocative or things. But if we look at even the challenge, like if we look at life and death, and look at even Plutonian issues, where you've been right at the I guess the darkest hour, so to speak. It's in that depth, and it's in that base energy where transformation takes place. And so, like, I think whenever we all find ourselves in a position of real mortal consequence, so to speak, then the only apparent function there for us is truth, rawness, transformation, and base living. And it's in that honesty and that direct mortal consequence that the most real human empowerment takes place. Like that's where it really goes on, because there's no bullshit there, is there? Like it's what it is. Like it's the deal. And what's the point otherwise? And so I feel that, Billy, and I think that's what we're with Pluto and Aquarius. That's the level. That level is where this Aquarian vibration is coming through. It's at that level of mortal base survival kind of level of our being, that place where we go when we're in that position is where this fundamentally individualizing humanistic vibration is starting to emerge. So there's real hope when you think about it in that way. There's real hope for the future, if our core realization is around principles of humanitarianism and higher value and harmony and liberty
Yep.
and sovereignty and those types of things. Yeah, so it's
and
good.
can I ask you, Martin? I was just thinking the analogy of when I don't know, you buy I won't name any brands or models, but you buy a red car and suddenly on the road you see, every second car seems to be red, or you buy a certain something and then suddenly that comes into your life all the time. It just seems to be in your face. But if that makes sense, we all know what that feels like.
Yeah.
I bring that up because I don't know whether it's just because of what I've been going through, but what I have had countless conversations over the last few months with people that I've only just met, with people that I've known for a long time, family, friends, loved ones. There seems to be over the last first half of the year, let's say that, a chaos of sorts and a real just throwing the cat amongst the pigeons. And a lot of people I've spoken to, everyone's got their own journey, and we say, a friend of mine and I say same but different. But there just seems to be a lot of similarities with what people are going through with losing loved ones, or really losing jobs or friendships, or readjusting to things. There just seems to be, and I use the word chaos not in a bad way or a negative manner, but it's like our lives are being turned upside down to really throw all the crap out, like you say, the bullshit. So it's allowing us, if we choose to reevaluate, reassess where we're at, what's important to us, and then stripping all that crap away to be able to then come out, generally through the other side, to really have an understanding of who we are first and foremost, but also what is important, what matters to us.
Absolutely.
Are you finding that from an astrology point of view? Is that
absolutely, Billy? Like you nailed it. Like that's the zeitgeist. Like that is what's happening. Like, I mean, if we sort of wind back a little bit and look at what we're in, look at the process as a whole, like just that chaos, that turning things on its head and flipping it over, like from a really base level, Pluto is in Aquarius, and that's what Pluto in Aquarius does. Like, I mean, Capricorn is the pyramid like this, and Aquarius is the pyramid like that. So literally, we're coming out of Capricorn with the fundamental will and drive and I guess the forceful creation, if you like, being, say, if we assign that to Plutonian energy, yes, the everything's just being flipped on its head, and in doing so too, it's doing what Pluto does. It breaks down old structures. It destroys anything that's not of substance, and brings it back to its core foundation so that it can be rebuilt upon. And so it's a regenerative energy. Like at the time, it looks destructive. It's like, oh my God, this is just bedlam. But if you look at the actual process of it, that flipping of everything around and everything just sort of having to resettle and come down to the ground, that's the first fundamental change that we're in at the moment. And Pluto's just gone retrograde, but it had moved, over the last year and a half, it's been moving in and out of this final degree of Aquarius. So like, sort of entering in there and then coming back into Capricorn, and because Capricorn is real world structure, material world, governance, hierarchy, all that type of thing. So like we are having this fundamental transformative break on that level. And in doing that, it does remove us. It brings us back to, like you're saying, it brings us back to this core, I guess, this core principle of what's important, what's true, what can I do, how, a more dynamic, active role rather than a survival pendulous, looking at the world and acting within it, like a conforming role, I suppose you'd call it. And so Capricorn is conformist, but whereas Aquarius is innovative. And so like there's this shift away from conforming to a reality, so to speak, or to a structure where that structure is no longer reliable or dependable, and we then have to go into an innovative operation where we look at what we've got, what our resources are, who we are, what's our capabilities, who do we know, what's our connections, how can we operate moving forward, rather than having to sort of somehow receive our flow of energy through this already established system of structure. So like it's a huge fundamental change. But adding to that, we've got Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. So like the planet of reality and the planet of belief, Neptune and Saturn, they're in the dissolving last sign of the zodiac. So like Saturn, if we call Saturn structures, so since Saturn entered Pisces, literally all the structures have been dissolving. All the anything of substance or anything of form is dissolving and coalescing into this sort of unified field of unexpressed, harmony or togetherness. So, look at government. If you look at Pisces too, on one side it's idealism, but on the other side it's deceit and deception. So nothing in this world is reliable or real or truthful really of late. So like adding to this, we've got this last phase of dissolution that's really going on. And so, inversion and disillusionment sort of combining is energetically quite a storm. And that the idea of that though is to bring us, I think, into a more realistic position of, I guess, what's of real importance, like what's of real value. And if we look at Saturn and Neptune both in Pisces, the suggestion of Saturn in Pisces is some form of spiritual mastery. So like, if Pisces keyword wise, Pisces is spiritual and Saturn is mastery, then it's not so much because nothing of true form exists theoretically, because it's all up for dissolution and harmonizing back into the nebulous everythingness to be reinvented. Then what we start to focus on is principles, higher principles, higher realizations, like what's of substance on a higher level, so that we can transcend the strife and get above it and have a look at what's really going on and what substance it really had. And then from that point of sort of spiritual consolidation, if you like, then we can form our new worldview, and then subsequently, when the energy switch, become creative and become expressive again. So like we are in this great fluxing end of cycles, where at the end of the day the truths are what matter, the principles are what matter, the virtues are what matter at this point. And because the rest of it is going to appear dramatically unreliable and dramatically impermanent, for want of a better word. And that this is a very big historical cycle that we're in, like, and even like, sorry to sort of ravel more of it, like even if you look at generationally, like say yourself, Billy, and people around the age of anywhere between sort of in their 40s to sort of 60s almost, like there's this aspect, Chiron opposite Uranus, that if you look at the birth charts, it's a very slow moving aspect, and it sort of pops in for about 15 or 20 years, every 100 odd years. There's this period of time where the individual Uranus opposes the wound. So there's this enormous healing potential around individualism and healing that is encapsulated in a generation that's sort of being involved at this time at that age group. So like it's almost like it's being set up. It's been set up so that the wisdom is there around bringing in a higher idea of understanding that has within it an innate wisdom for healing and rebirth and integration and growth. So like, it does speak to me, when I look at it, like, have faith, guys, because when you look at it, there is a divine cosmic plan just going through another revolution here. And like, as humans, we can participate in the way we can, because at the end of the day we're creators, so like, rather than see what's going to happen, it's like, it's just realizing, well, here's the energy that's happening. How do we make the best from it? And like, I know it sounds fluffy and rainbows and unicorns to say, oh, it's all beautiful, it's all cool, because it's not. It's painful, it's hard, it's challenging, it's not cool most of the time. But at the end of the day too, it's what we do with it and how we relate to it and how we come to learn from it. And sometimes too, I always feel that if I'm in a bad situation, I look at it and go, well, what am I overlooking here? What do I need to learn here? What have I got to do here? Where do I go from here? And that's not often up to us to know ourselves. Sometimes it's up to us to seek that in the form of guidance or information from somewhere or learn or grow in some way. But when we do that, when we actively involve ourselves in that, we're actually participating in a process of healing and evolution and change, which is why we're here, I think.
Yeah, no, that's great. And how do you feel like it also feels to me, Martin, that we're by us going through this phase now where we are self-discovering and learning to re-love ourselves and be kind to ourselves and have an understanding that we are co-creating at all times. We're not so reliant on the authority and from a global perspective, as you sort of touched on quickly. We can sort of go into that a little bit more. But what's coming up from an astrology point of view is that that destruction, I guess, for want of another word, of authority. So the banks and politics and governments around the world, all that we thought we knew is not how it is. But that won't be for most, or for a lot of us, won't be as devastating or as daunting as it potentially could be, because we are naturally, the universe seems to be putting us through this environment at the moment where we are going through this self-discovery phase and having a more understanding of who we are, so we're not so reliant on those external potential influences. Is that
that's
fair?
it, and not so attached to form, or attached to form in a more healthy way. Like, it's really exciting. Like, in a way, like if we look at the cycle that's ending now, like, so yes, Pluto's going into Aquarius, and so that's a big fundamental change where we're moving away from the malevolence of hierarchical power and structure back to the individuality principle. So we're sort of back in a very, well, we are in a very revolutionary time. Like it's extremely revolutionary in that every time Pluto has been here, we've had some form of major revolutionary change. Like American War of Independence, and the Reformation, and I guess the Magna Carta before that. So like there's these, it is an enormously precipitous time for the questioning of diabolical tyranny and the need for right use of power and the right use of structure and all those types of things. But like further to that though, we're at the Saturn Neptune cycles beginning, where we literally structure and idea and ideology is in this sort of dissolving phase of completion. And so if we go back to 1989, the cycle that we're in presently kicked off in 89. So Saturn and Neptune came together in 89. The Berlin Wall fell then, like, structures dissolved, the separating of the east and west of Germany, found unification again. And so, but since then, reality and our aspiration, Neptune being aspiration and Saturn being reality, those two forces came together in the sign of Capricorn. So our aspiration or our God became hierarchy. Like we all aspired to the greatness of structure and materialism and form and governance and, great sort of success. God was being the CEO, or God was being, whatever it is. That was the great aspiration, that all things will be, contained within the perfect system of governance, like, which is a very Capricornian aspiration. Now that cycle's going to end next year. Like, it's going to come into a new cycle where we're moving away from governance or hierarchical, expression of our reality or expression of our world, into a new one, which is it's going to be under the sign of Aries. And not just Aries, it's going to happen at 0 degrees Aries. So it's a very dynamic, sort of explosive, advancing, active form of worldview. In a way, is going to start forming, culminating very much around the idea of self, or very much around the idea of the individual rather than the organization. And so, so there is this, not only a movement away from a breaking down of actual structure, but we're moving also away from structural dominance into the dominance of action or dynamic. And so, like, it's sort of, there's a big shift. And the exciting thing is too, that as that takes place astrologically, you've got, I think there's Uranus sextile Jupiter, Jupiter sextile Neptune. There's all these enormously powerful, kind of aspects, slow-moving aspects, collective consciousness aspects that are forming in the sky around that time. This is about around 2025, 2026, where it's extremely active, it's extremely expansive. it's extremely innovative. There's things going on. So while we feel like we're in this very pendulous days of disorientation and deconstruction and ultimately surrendering our attachment to form, in the background building is this Renaissance type energy that happens very, very seldom, and it's enormously encouraging, and it's enormously positive, insofar as positive and negative, active versus passive. So we've been in a very passive energy for a very long time. Like it's been a very survival, conformist, very, almost, extremely, to just name a political system, but it's extremely, communistic or socialistic versus free market. So like we're about to see the dissolution or the breakdown of the failed communist state for a resurgence of the free market impulse. It's and that's going to be energetic. It's energetic in that most of the big planets, most of the the big population type collective consciousness planets are going to be in active signs. They're going to be in yang signs rather than very yin signs. So like there is this extreme dynamic that's going to start emerging into the future. So like it's early days. We're just in that disillusionment phase of aligning ourselves or correcting ourselves, and it's getting our minds right. It's getting our minds set around it. So what really is important right now is spiritual principle, because we can't be dragged into the abyss of the Piscean swamp of like blaming and victimization and this and that and mistruth and manipulation. Like there is extreme, it's fair to say, I think there's extreme corruption and malevolence in this world, and there's extreme manipulation and extreme lack of truth and extreme suffering, and like it's just this almost demented nightmare of illusion and glamour and false pursuits and all these things where the only possible outcome is disorientation. But like if you tap into the other opportunity there with the Saturn and Neptune coming together through Pisces, there's also this chance to really line up and strap in and get structured around higher principle and higher belief and higher understanding and right use of compassion and right use of understanding, and the laws of right human relations and all those types of things are very much there for us to hook up with, so that when the consciousness energy shifts, we're already plugged in, like we're already underway, and there's no dissonance that's going to be created. Like if we're dissonant to such a dramatic change of energy, yes, it's going to be quite chaotic, because we're going to try and, it's like having playing a B on a guitar and then someone coming in and power strumming an F. It's just gonna sound really, really different. And so but because it's going to be quite stark, but we're in that harmonization phase at the moment where we're just sort of tuning the guitars, so to speak, and it's a bit like that. And again, now that if we're talking at that level, we're also talking about karma and life and the evolution of things and why we're here and why we're not here, which is all very Cancerian stuff too, like our ancestry and our origins and our nation and our tribe and all that sort of stuff. So at the end of the day, it's a little bit of a need to be impersonal so that we can become more individual, and that's the thing. It's getting more out of our own way so that we can actually embrace the whole, but as ourselves. And that's that sort of requirement, I suppose, that's being kind of shunted around us at the moment, where it's important not to conform, because if you're just conforming, as in just going along with the shape of life that's being put on you, that's what's getting shaken up at the moment. Yeah, so it's interesting. So in other words, having a more active participatory role in life for whatever it's worth, on whatever level, but just being in it and being active in it.
Yeah. And that might feel foreign at first, or that might feel not quite aligned. But I think you're right. You see a bit of a polarity as well. Like we talk about polarity quite a bit. There will be some people that resist and want to hang on to their current status quo and how they're living their life, particularly if they think they're successful in whatever shape or form, materialistic world. And yeah, but then there'll be, I do feel, like I said before about the red car scenario, I feel like for me, as I'm evolving and changing and expanding my energy, I'm meeting like-minded or like-hearted people, and I feel like there's more and more, and I'm so excited that there are more and more people that not necessarily call themselves spiritual. They're still living their day-to-day lives, and they're, through this chaos, they're starting to reevaluate and go, hang on, this is not working for me, there must be another way. So they're starting to, even at a semi-subconscious level, start to exploring that, which I feel like the universe is shifting us all, or moving us all towards where we're going in the next 12, 18 months anyway, and
that's
beyond.
The thing, Billy. I think, and that's that point. Like when you notice the red car, and you bought a red car, and you notice the red car. Really, that's that level where it's all okay anyway. So like if you can sort of almost make it easier on yourself and just make key decisions in your life rather than having to worry about the minutiae, and just realize that we are all in as part of this active collective process that's going on. So why not participate in a constructive, positive way rather than focusing on the minutiae. So it is really, it is a really important time to where you actually can get a real visual, tangible appreciation of spiritual principle. Like it really, if you think, as they say, think positive, you'll get positive or whatever. But like there is this real tangible in all this Piscean soup that we're in at the moment. It's so conductive and so unified that, where we can project easily or blame easily or become victimized easily or whatever, we can also transmit very easily, intention. We can also transmit very easily positive vibration. We can also transmit very easily structural form of mind. Like we are in a medium, a very, I suppose, dense medium of emotive or spiritual water energy. So, it's like when you're in a pool and you tap two rocks together, you can hear that rock go through the pool. So if you create a mental form, it transmits very easily and very quickly through that pool. I don't know if you probably agree with this too, Billy, but like the telepathy's off the charts at the moment. You can. It's, I know it sounds radical, but like it's. I think it. I hear it. It's like, oh yeah, I know, I get it. And next minute you just send a text to someone and go, yeah, gotcha. And they're like, yeah, no, I was thinking that. It's like it's happening. Like we are in this very unified field of togetherness, where it can seem like everyone overlaps each other or everyone's kind of, projecting past each other and there's misinformation and mistruths. But if you clarify it, you start to clarify yourself through just discernment and virtue and value and principle and things like that, you'll find that you're in a very interactive medium of exchange that's underpinned by a very fluid organism of connectedness that we're all in. So, it's instant response. You think it, you see it. Yeah. Like there it is. Like it's sort of, it is quite synchronicities. We're in the synchronicity at the moment. It's not occasional. We're actually in the synchronicity, and that's
for certain. Yeah,
it's a cool thing.
And it, I'm feeling, Martin, that it's paramount now. It's so critical that we, coming back to what we were saying before, holding that integrity and that being true to who we are really allows us to tap in to the energy, the true energy of others, and that matrix of sorts. Because when we're not that's when we feel detached, or we're not quite with it, or we're alone. People feel alone. Why are they feeling alone? Because they're not allowing themselves to be their true selves. So they're unattached almost to the matrix in a way. They're not, but they feel like they are. So that synchronicity and that's off the charts, like you said. Countless things that have happened over the last while, and it's increasing for sure.
And I think that's going to, if you look at the new consciousness coming through, like, I mean, if even looking ahead to these aspects that are forming, if we emerge out of this stew that we're in, or this sort of liquefactional state that we're in, through the actions of Aries and things like that, the potential for the potential for advancement or evolution, positive human evolution, is very great. Like, but at the same time, it's a very great testing phase because we find ourselves at a time where we need more than ever clarity and discernment and balance. So like it's sort of, we are at that pivotal stage. But what is going to happen, and I mean, energetically, I mean, I don't know how it's going to look, but like as Neptune moves into Aries and as Pluto moves into Aquarius and those types of things, and especially, and then Gemini Uranus moves into Gemini. I mean, Gemini's dual and things like that. So we're going to have this enormous time ahead of polarization. And I suppose just if you even look at the USA, for argument's sake, the last time Neptune went into Aries was the day that the American Civil War started. And, like Pluto went into Aquarius when they had their War of Independence, so there's an incredibly polarizing energy going on, even just if you look at the mundane level through the USA sort of thing. So, and I suppose thereby the whole world being affected in one way, indirectly or directly otherwise. But like, it sort of stands that we are at a fractious time in ideology. We are in a fractious time of left versus right, or blue versus red, or whatever. But again, the resolution is in the middle. And I suppose when we look at moons like even this one, itself, the Cancerian moon is sort of showing the way in a way to like, okay, what do I need? What's my point of stability? What nourishes me? What brings me nourishment? Where do I feel safe and where do I feel comfortable in myself? And where is my harmony as a result of that? And what's keeping me from that harmony? So am I perpetuating an imbalance that's taking me into a duality? Like, and that's the thing, like we've got to get right so that these one or other duality doesn't become too tempting and we find ourselves polarized in the fractiousness that is ahead of us. So like it really is a cool heads will prevail, in other words, like cool heads will take place. And I guess the way forward, or the right way forward, is going to, as always, be in the middle. And that doesn't mean selling yourself short or getting walked on. It means just staying within your higher principle, staying within that sort of conflict resolution zone. Which, and in fact, one of the angles in this particular new moon is basically being able to transcend yourself, getting out above yourself, so that you can see enough of your own ego attachment and thereby sort of liberate yourself back into harmony and transcend your own mind, kind of thing. Like, this is getting out of your own way in a way and going, well, okay, cool. I there is something greater here. There's an ability here for me to find a greater harmony if I look at myself closer and lift myself above myself long enough that I can actually find the new balance and find the new groove. And like, so that opportunity is really there in this moon too, Billy.
And it's so empowering too, Martin, isn't it? To have that opportunity to maintain that awareness where lots of things come up in our lives. We can get distracted or we can get pulled from one side or to the other. And that's the easy way to play the victim or to play the blame, or oh, it's their fault, everything's happening to me, blah, blah, blah. But to stay in that sort of middle. And when we say middle, like you say, it's almost like an ascended higher self mindset and heart space, where you're not better or worse, but you're above, and you resist the temptation to get caught up in the little tornadoes that go around all over the place, which they're there. It's easy to get caught up in them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And even when they're there, how do we perceive those is very much aligned with what we feel about ourselves as well. If we have kindness to ourselves, and that's got to start there, and got to, I believe, and by having that self-love and understanding of who we are and where we sit, and take that empowerment where we're not automatically conforming or just going with the flow, so to speak, which all, from a spiritual level, just go with the flow, it's all good, and just, I'll go where the universe takes me. Well, that's all fine, but I don't think that's working for most of us
That's right,
now
exactly.
or into the future. We really need to, without having resistance, but work out what we stand for spiritually, and
Yep.
go from there, and then make every decision from a heart space dependent on that,
That's it.
because then we're not just being chameleons, which I've been guilty of in the past, of just complying or fitting in, or
Yep.
going
That's it.
that,
And it's recognizing that I guess, like there's an interesting thing, like, even with getting back to this new moon too, like there's this thing about this new moon to, like, not watch out for or whatever, but like there is a precipitousness about this new moon, and in fact, it's a bit sort of long term here too. But like the midheaven of this new moon is where Uranus is going to be when the conjunction takes place in the future of Neptune and Saturn. So there's something about this new moon that has a futuristic connotation to it, and sort of sitting near it, there's a conjunction of Uranus and Mars, which is sort of, it's a very explosive, or kind of, it's a revolutionary type energy that's there. So there's a spark of change in this new moon. There's a spark of realization in this new moon that's going to set something up that will be realized later, that will come through and be consolidated, like sort of more 2026 way, late 2025, 2026 way. So, but there's a fractious type of spark. Mars and Uranus together is a Guy Fawkes Night type energy. It's revolutionary. It's out of the blue. It's precipitous, right? So there's something in this that is precipitous, that for all of us, and it's not bad or anything. It's actually just precipitous. So there's a sudden, it's even a lotto win or whatever, but like it's this precipitative event or a realization or a spark of clarity that makes us go, whoa, here's where it is. Here's where I am. This is an opportunity. I can now see beyond my now. I can now see into the future. I can see ahead some way. And it's in that realization that we've got to realize that it's not just about going with the flow. It's actually, if we go with the flow, we'll end up at a waterfall. That's where the flow's going. The flow's going to a cliff, and the water drops off, and we'll end up somewhere else. But there'll be a drop somewhere, I'm sure. But if we realize too that we are the masters of structure, or we're the masters of time, or we can use time for mastery of something, Saturn word here. But like it's about getting your vision happening, getting your insight happening, and actually taking the steps and taking the actions and bringing those visions or that idea into reality. And that's what we've got the power to do. Is we often think that life is something that contains us and we conform to it. But if we can master our Saturnian energy and start actually recognizing the power of our vision, or the power of our belief, or the power of what it is that we want to see eventuate in the world, and start actually making rules and regs, or setting boundaries and making choices and taking steps and actions to bring that into being, then we're really landing it. That we're not subject to consequence. We're not. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. We are subject to consequence, but we're not slaves to circumstance. Is what I mean.
Yep.
And that sort of compliance, or accepting things for as they are, and being disgruntled or being victimized or being beset by them, is something that we don't have to do. And because we do have, one thing they didn't probably tell us at school is that we've got the ability, if we put our minds to it, to put effort into things to actually get them to come about. And a lot of the trickery is that if you think it and set your mind to it long enough, it'll happen. It won't. You've got to hold it in your mind so that you've got a clear and fair way of seeing how it goes, so that you can do it successfully. And it's about doing it. And so if you live in a place of compassion, do acts of love, do acts of kindness, do acts that propagate the peace of mind that you want to manifest in your world. And the rest of it is just making a decision not to respond adversely to anything that's in opposition to that. So if you come across a hypnotized mass of mindless fools that don't appreciate your vibe, just walk away.
Yep.
Go and find the people that do appreciate it and start taking steps. Because one thing about mindless zombies is that if something's stronger and brighter, like in those games, if you set a bonfire, all the zombies come to it. Like if you build a bonfire of your positive intention, good thing is that mindless zombies will eventually turn to it and go, wow, that's really nice. I appreciate that. But why take on the zombies? Don't expose your brain to them. Like go and do something else.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, bit of a zombie analogy.
No, I understand completely. Yeah, that resonates with, and also by thinking and feeling and doing a certain that certain vibe, you're attracting that law of attraction. You're attracting and going to that energetic levels with others. So that might be direct contact with whoever you're dealing with at any given moment, and then that, as we know, with energy, that permeates out. I believe globally and beyond. You might be touching someone on the other side of the world, in America or Europe or somewhere. For our case. That you don't even know. That a thought comes into their head and go, oh, where did that come from? It's our energies. Yeah. So the more of us doing that, living authentically. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, and you're right. Like even just talking about the fundamental laws, like the law of polarity. It's just understand that if you say up, someone's going to say down. It's just understand that there's always an opposite. If you're feeling a certain way, there's an opposite there to balance that out. And so, and once you understand that, you can understand harmony. You can understand the harmony of life. You can understand that, wow, amidst the duality, there must be a center point. There's just got to be.
It's like the fulcrum on a seesaw, isn't it? You can't go up if someone else is not going down. Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. So, and best place is meet everyone in the middle. And we'll just sit down and have a chill in the middle. But whilst we're going up and down, it's pretty fun. Yep. So it's the energy's moving. But yeah, it is that, Billy. You nailed it. And I think that's part of being on Earth. If you look at Earth from an astrological point of view, even like the nature of Earth, the symbol of Earth is the cross. So like. There's these dualities. There's north and south. There's east and west. Like the center point though is the point of integration. And so like just by living on Earth, there is a polarity. There's always a dual nature to everything. And I think it's our job or our challenge or whatever it is to find ourselves centered in the midpoint of those dualities.
And to be able to see the beauty in that too, Martin. Not that someone that thinks completely different is in opposition or they're the baddies or they're the other people. You don't have to entertain them or engage with that behaviour or that person, but like you said with the zombie analogy, walk away, but you don't have to hate them or have anger or animosity or anything towards them. Just let them be and understand that that's part of why how do we know we're hot if we don't understand what cold feels like?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, you're right, Billy. Yeah, you're so right. Like it is recognizing that duality and of course, like nothing's perfect. Like we can't just cruise around and because if we cruise around consciously thinking that we're in harmony and everyone else is off their chops, like all we're doing is setting up a duality.
That's right.
Like we then become dual and all of a sudden there's the challenge to like, well, why are you? Really, you're not balanced. You're just judgmental.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sort of. So it really is about just. That's where compassion comes in. Is that compassion in a way is the great harmonizer. It's where you can release conflict or release confrontation and find the middle point just by virtue of trusting that harmony exists. And like that's the thing. Ultimately, I think that compassion leads us to is releasing ourselves from any duality.
That's right.
And like that's the point. Yeah. So it's all good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very
good. Cool, Billy.
Very
cool.
good.
But yeah, no, good new moon. Good new moon coming up. Like it's a lovely one. Home, family, just your roots, your tribe. Like get back to your traditions. Like as in. Sometimes too, like there's a little reminder in this, even this new moon too. There is a little reminder in there of the power of tradition or the power of what it is that you, I guess, gravitate around or what gives you stability or gives you security. And like that doesn't mean tradition, but just recognizing rituals or recognizing things that make you feel good. Like if you've got something that brings light into your life that is reliable and trustworthy, just respect it and do it. Tap into your traditions, tap into traditional values or tap into traditional things that actually contain in them the qualities that you would like to perpetuate, so to speak. So because change often does refer to tradition. Sometimes we get so far from the good values that we actually think that, hang on a minute, we've been trying to evolve past them, but really they just line us up again and set us straight again, and off we go. So yeah, it's that type of vibe, I guess, too. So enjoy it on that way.
Yeah, that's what I love is that this new moon, like you said, is about now, but it's also tapping into the future in the next year or two for sure. So we're almost sort of setting ourselves up and how we want life to look like without having expectations.
Totally.
Demands on the world.
And that's the thing. Yeah, it is. If we can set out, if that's how I'd look at it, Billy. Like, this is a really good moon to settle down and set yourself up. It's not about reacting or responding. It's actually about consolidating, aligning. We are. Again, we've just had solstice. It's we're in that beginning of the year again. The light's starting to reemerge, but we're still very much at the base of the chart in the sign of Cancer. So it's nourishment. It's getting aligned, getting set up, setting your course, irrespective of noise or distractions, and just trust in the fact that whatever you line up with now, I've seen it, noted it in the astrological process. Come 2026, it's going to really sort of be echoed, I guess, in the future. And so there's an opportunity here to kind of go, what, this is where I'm going, and you're going to be setting off a sound that echoes into the future.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so exciting and liberating to know that you've got that choice right now to make those decisions and establish your consciousness to where you want to be in that. And like you say, that heart space, do everything with love and do everything with compassion and kindness, and everything will flow from there, I think. Beautiful.
Exactly. Fully, Billy.
All right. Well, thanks, Martin. I think we've talked a fair bit about the new moon. Was there anything else that you wanted to add before we? Because there's always lots for us to talk about.
As soon as we finish, I'll go. That's right. I meant to say that, but I've got about 9 pages here, but no, they'll all go off in another direction. But I think we've covered it, Billy. It's a good start anyway, and we can always pick it up next time.
Yeah, I'm excited for the next 6 months, Martin. To in particular, just like you said, there's a fair bit politically going on, and which obviously reflects on the astrology side of things. Yeah, there's a lot of change coming up towards the latter part of this year, and
it's huge. Like, this is a wild ride. Like, we're in a wild ride now. Like, this is it. Like, I mean, Pluto's going back into Capricorn in another month or so, and it's going to stay there, and wreak its last bit of finale in the malevolent structures and forms of our world. So, like, this is the time. This is the reset button. If there is a reset button that needs to be hit, I think energetically anyway, from now till late November, we're in it. And just about all the planets, Saturn, Neptune, they're all retrograding, so we're in for I think that, how would I put it? I won't say what we're in for, but we're in, the weather is one where it's important to just maintain your flexibility, maintain your sort of, I guess, your center, maintain your own consciousness at the moment. Don't buy into anything, too dramatically, and just allow, be supportive of the processes of positive transformation, and because that's what we're in. It's a transformative time, and it's going to be an interesting time, and on top of that, we've got this added energy of Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, just completely muddying the waters and completely intensifying the experience of reactivity and sensitivity and all those types of things. So wow, like, this is real. You could say, if you're here on the planet right now, this is what you're here for right now. This is the time. Like, this is the one, because I think this is where we turn the corner.
Yep. that gives me goosebumps, Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said before, there's so many people that I've spoken to recently over the last few months, just going through what would appear on the surface as chaotic, and their lives are turning upside down. But I'm noticing the polarity, I guess, for want of another word, of different perspectives, and that perspective is really, really important. So some are really going down oh, this is all happening to me, I can't believe this, that and the other, it's like it's all going to crap, blah blah blah. And then there's other people, and I put myself in this sort of category, where I'm looking at it, embracing it, and going, okay, well, what can I learn, how can I grow, how can I expand from this? There must be some life lessons in here. And for me, that works. It definitely, people say, oh, Billy, you've been really positive through my situation, but for me, I didn't have a choice. And when I say that, it was my choice because it felt so natural right from the word go. What can I gain from this? How can I expand? And then how can I help others? That was just something in me that came out straight away, and it's undeniable for me, and I know there's a lot of people like yourself included that are feeling exactly the same way. So it's really exciting to know that we have the choice, to have the it's going to be what it is, but how we perceive it, what our perspectives are, and our gratitude right throughout this is let's go, let's bring it on. And I love the fact what you said, Martin. We chose to be here at this point of time on this earth, and that for me is empowering in itself. We all chose to be here, whether we acknowledge it, understand it, have that awareness or not, matters not. We chose to be here, and what we do with it now is entirely up to each individual and collectively.
That's it, Billy. And remember too, I always say this too, we are co-creators. We're creating it. It's our will that's making the choices that make the changes. So it's our response to the circumstances that determines the next moment. So like we're in charge of how it's unfolding too. Like the astrology or the energetics at work, they're just the conditions. If it's raining outside, you're the one that puts the raincoat on or not. Like it's how we deal with it, what we make of it. And the thing about it is, I mean, just to sort of finish up on that, just to reassert that, with this Pluto opposite Mercury that we've got, it's what we think and say that transforms the situation. So like, get real, get true, get raw, get real on it, and talk about it. Make the change. Think about it. Whatever you think, act on it, and you're already contributing to the transformation. So like, we're not powerless. We're not heading for an unknown rocky ride. We're participating in an extremely transformative process that is absolutely charged with spiritual potential. So like, get amongst it.
Yep, absolutely. And can I just touch on that too? There are so many groups out there. We live on the Sunshine Coast. You live where you live, but it's amazing how many groups and how many individuals are out there that think very similar, and I find that increasing. So don't feel like you're alone. If you feel like, oh, hang on, what's going on in my life? I don't understand. I'm not. This is all relatively or feels new to you. Reach out. There's so many groups on social media. You can reach out, and communication and talk about it, because words are power. And if you can communicate how you're feeling, you will find other people that will listen without judgment and have that understanding, and you'll align with them. It's meant to happen. They've already chosen you. You're already in that soul group. So reach out. Don't feel like you're alone and isolated, because you're absolutely not. This is a beautiful, beautiful time.
The first place to talk to and reach out to is yourself too.
Absolutely.
And sometimes just sitting there and going, you know what, this is the shit I'm in. I dig it. Wow, what a trip. I accept it. Here we are. Where to from here? Once you do that, once you go, right, I'm in touch with you, like as in yourself, then you're plugging in.
That's a great
you're
point.
Doing
it. Yeah.
And sometimes the hardest form of honesty is pulling yourself up and going, hey, this is where you're at, dude. That's it. And that's from there you actually plugging into your creative mechanism, which is yourself. Yeah. And that's your truth.
That's
and
right.
Truth isn't facts. Truth is just a state of alignment. And so, if you're saying your truth, it doesn't mean that it's the same as anyone else's. It's a state of alignment that hooks you up with the power of belief, that hooks you up with your will. And like, if you're in that truth, and you're in that place, then you're creating. So that's the first place to start.
Yep, completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
All
right, Martin.
Awesome,
well, thank you very much for again joining me, and I love our conversations. Like we know, we could talk for all day, really.
Billy. Yeah,
I love where we're going. It's limitless, but I look forward to speaking to you again each month on the new moon, because it does correlate to what. It always blows my mind, Martin, just quickly when you talk about astrology and what's happening, and I reflect back a little bit. Sometimes it's significant things, other times it's just a lot of little things. How accurate it is, and obviously we can read into it what we like at times, but it's amazing how the energies and the astrologically, how incredibly accurate it is that fits into what's going on. Yeah.
I think too. Thanks, Billy. I really appreciate that. And I mean, the thing about it is, the way I look at astrology is literally it's just a finer and finer and finer form of weather that they haven't got the instruments to measure accurately yet. And so, like, it's a seasonal evolving pattern of energy that takes place. And the more you tune into it, and the more you become conscious of the more subtle energies that are at work in your life. I mean, we're all good at working out if it's going to rain by the big white things in the cloud or the big dark things in the cloud. But at the moment you start to realise that life's got cycles and life's got very subtle patterns of evolutionary intention that plays out in our lives, the more you can start to respond to it appropriately and realise, though, it's not like there's the right answer, but the more subtle your realisation gets, the more you realise how subtle but yet powerful you are in your choices and actions in your life. And so I think it's a great, process of self-awareness.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like you touched on before, it all starts with us. So that's the critical factor, I think. Yep.
It does. Beautiful. But no, thanks so much, Billy. It's always great to talk to you, man.
Excellent.
Again, great to see you back up and firing, dude.
No, thank you. I'm looking forward to my health getting better and putting on some weight back after losing so much. So it's just slowly but surely, but engaging with everything that's happening at the moment. Some of the perceived restrictions I've got at the moment, that's okay physically. It's all on the rise, mate. So thank you very much. I know we've
moon in Cancer, great one for nourishment.
Absolutely,
nourish yourself.
Excellent. All right, well, thanks so much, Martin. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks everyone for listening, and I hope you enjoy what we've had to say today and get something out of it. So thanks again, Martin.
Thanks so much, Billy. Take care, guys. Thanks for listening, and have a good one.
All right, just